Okay. All right. Sorry for those who might have hopped in earlier. But again, salam alaikum to my Muslim brothers and sisters. I think I deleted the past stream. Some crazy news just happened, and I'll explain all of that in a second. But yeah, welcome to the stream today. Hopefully we can do this full video here. I don't know if we will be able to, because some massive news has just developed, and I will explain that here in a second. But I hope everyone is doing very well today. And yeah, I've been seeing this little beef happen all over my Twitter account and even YouTube, and I've never watched any video. I might have seen a video from Daniel before in the past. I might have seen a Jake video before in the past, but just to, I'm going to be honest, I really don't really watch any of these guys, but I've been seeing it all over my Twitter account, even for the past week or so. I've been seeing like people like disavowing Daniel, and so I guess this is one. I'm not gonna lie, guilty pleasures beef. I think internet beef is hilarious. I think people get so turned over the smallest things, and yeah, I think this could be a pretty interesting watch. And so yeah, we'll hop into it in a second, but yeah, I guess the reason why I had to restart the stream is because my car got stolen earlier this past weekend, and then my dad just called me and the police found my car, and so that is actually fantastic news. It's funny, I was like halfway, like a little bit like just be like dang, like, because I had some things in my car that I really liked. A car can be replaceable, but there's some other things that I really did enjoy. Some workout gear in it, which sucked. But anyway, so yeah, he just called me right when the stream started. And so yeah, I guess if any of you guys have any like understanding of what's going on with Jake and Daniel, again, I haven't really watched their content before in the past. I don't really know too much about them besides, like, I've seen maybe some shorts of Daniel. I don't think I've ever really watched Jake's stuff. I have seen some of his stuff pop up. I don't know if I've really even given it a proper watch. And but this kind of stuff has been going on my Twitter account recently, and so I was like, you know what, let's just kind of react to see, because it seems like people are going against Daniel for some stuff, I guess shirk, or like he's like not like he's like allowing shirk, or he thinks that shirk's not that bad. And then I think Jake has been talking crap about like rating different Muslim influencers and didn't rate Daniel at all. So I'm a little confused on what's going on. But yeah, we'll just kind of hop in and just see what all this madness is about. And yeah, again, if any of you guys have some more insight on what's going on, I'm happy to hear.
If you're enjoying this video and the other channel, the discussion board.
You didn't start, just like you yourself did with Omar Suleiman. You didn't start asking him about his intentions, why he was participating in these acts of kufr and shirk. You didn't do that.
I think it's haram. Like, I think this
It should be better now.
is haram. I think it can be an act of shirk. My position
No,
on Omar
and
Suleiman,
you said definitively it was kufr and shirk what Omar Suleiman did. Were you wrong to say that?
because he's not asking. He's not. That's not istighatha, bro. He's engaging in a ritual.
He's committing an act.
He's
How
committing,
did you
yeah.
know?
They also have like a 9-hour version of this, but I don't think there's any way I can sit through 9 hours of this nonsense. But yeah, it would be nice to have some context on what the starting point is.
His intention of doing that action?
He's committing an act. I said this is. I didn't say that he is definitively a mushrik or that he's a kafir.
You said that he committed
like if someone is prostrating. Look, if someone is prostrating to an old man and is just on his face prostrating to an old man, are you going to judge by the apparent and say? And he's like on his face and he's muttering to himself, and he's there for 5 minutes. Are you going to go and say, "Oh, this is shirk akbar. He's committing shirk akbar"? You can't say that, right? Because Ibn Taymiyyah says it depends on the intention.
And I asked you a specific question, and I want.
All right, shirk akbar. All right, let's give it a quick little look. Gravest sin, yes, just involving. Okay, that's what I thought.
I want to know genuinely, because I think you have changed your position since the time when you were criticizing Omar Suleiman for those rituals and things he was doing, have you changed your position on this question of ibadah, shirk, and all these kind of things? Or has it been the same this entire time?
To be honest, I've just learned a lot more about what someone like Tajuddin or Taqiyuddin Subki has said, for example, and other ulama, and the reasoning that they're giving on this. I'm trying to explain it to you and explain why I have the position that I do, that it's in many cases it can be considered shirk akbar, calling to the Prophet ﷺ because of whatever context, but it's not necessarily the case. Just like in many cases, I can say that in many cases, 99% of cases, someone is prostrating to an old man or prostrating to a tree or prostrating.
That's what I think this is. Again, like, I think this is, like I said, this was just really on my Twitter timeline for whatever reason. And I don't know, one of them is called a Wahhabi. I think people were saying like Jake is a Wahhabi. I don't know. I don't know. I don't get why the beef. Like, what's the beef? Because they're talking about shirk, like because there's an old man who prostrated to another person, or what's the deal?
I can in many cases say, or all cases with a tree, but imagine like prostrating for respect to a king or prostrating with respect to whoever, that this is in many cases probably shirk akbar, but I can't say that definitively. I can't say that that's necessarily the case. And Ibn Taymiyyah agrees with me on that.
I get it, and we already went over that point. But I'm asking you, when you declared the action that Omar Suleiman did was an act of kufr, did you question?
Let's see. Can we find out what's going on Twitter? Omar Suleiman. I know I spelled it wrong. Let me look up what these guys are saying. Yeah, I don't know if I can do the 10-hour stream. 10-hour stream would be dangerous. So, okay. So you're saying they're all liars. Yeah. So can we get some context? Like I said, I literally I don't even really know that. I might have seen a couple clips in my life from Daniel, maybe one clip from Jake. I just don't take the time to, it pops on my YouTube, but I literally do not take the time to watch these guys. But my Twitter has been going off about this beef. And so, like, what's the deal? Can someone just give me some context on what's the deal? It's a human issue, not a... Yeah. So, is it all about just who this Omar Suleiman guy, about he prostrated to someone, and then Daniel is saying that, was defending him by saying it might not be 100% sure because he doesn't know what the exact situation was, and Jake is like being very staunch and like very conservative in his view, and only one is correct. Okay.
Him about his intentions behind the action.
And so Jake, like, can we get a poll on, like, like, it's like we're saying that Daniel's kind of going off in his own desires? Is that kind of the thought?
Or did you?
Yeah, do I expect that people are gonna go off in their own desires? 1000%. Like, I don't think people are robots. I think people are going to do, are going to follow their own egos, whether it's the one true religion, whether it's Christianity, whether, like, just like how I think there's very pious Christians, just how I think there's probably very pious Jews, like Orthodox Jews, just how I think there's very pious Muslims. I think at the same time there's going to be Muslims that are doing the wrong thing, and I think there's Christians who are doing the wrong thing. Okay. Yeah, because I've been seeing, like, my Twitter account pushing pro Daniel and then YouTube pushing pro Jake, weirdly enough.
You declare it kufr before you asked him about his intentions.
Like this, there are certain things where if you go to a church, okay, or you go and you go to like some Hindu temple, or you're doing like a dance for a certain god, okay, or the water pouring ritual, okay, I think that you can say that this is an act of shirk because this is what the this is what those religions are doing. Like you
Also, yeah, like I mean, he's comparing acts of shirk to Islam. I don't know.
Are their
participating
intentions
in
relevant?
an act of shirk.
And are
Now,
their
Yeah, but humans are flawed, Steve. Come on, that's easy.
intentions relevant?
Huh?
Are their intentions relevant when they do those acts?
To determine if they have committed shirk akbar, yes, I guess it is relevant. It is relevant for them to know what their intentions are. And I
Walaikum salam, Izzy. 10-hour stream yesterday that no one will ever get back and not much to show. Yeah. Yeah, well, I want to give this a proper try, but yeah, I get the feeling that it's gonna just an ego battle.
when it
So
comes
you were
to
wrong. You were
participating, like for example, Andrew Tate going, like you declared Andrew Tate to be a kafir. And it was on the basis of him going to the church. And
Not really. Not only that. It was, but Dan, let's
what,
not.
then what was it? Why did you declare Andrew Tate to be a kafir?
I will get to Andrew Tate in a second.
No,
Do
but
you
I'm
admit-
answering your question. Like,
Yeah,
why did you
I'm
determine
getting
Andrew
to your
Tate to be a
point.
kafir?
Dan, let's be honest here. Will you admit that you were wrong for actually declaring the act that Omar Suleiman did was
Also, like, aren't we taught that there's a better way to like tell a brother that that there might be doing something wrong? Walaikum salam. Like, didn't the Prophet, the Holy Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, tell us that we should like either pull these brothers aside or maybe make a grand like a grand announcement to all people so that hopefully that individual can hear it, or even like give this person a compliment and then tell them why they might be doing something wrong? Walaikum salam. Oh, from India. Salam alaikum, brother.
kufr without speaking to him regarding his intentions, because there's a possibility that he intended something other than
Like, and this is like the crazy thing about this is, right, I'm sure they're both well intentioned, whether they're right or wrong. And I know a lot of Muslims will kind of deviate from the proper path. It is interesting just seeing a battle of where they both think they're in the right.
then what you would consider to be shirk or kufr.
Right, I said, yeah, the intentions are relevant. The intentions
Okay, so
are
Yeah, I gotta look into that, Ryusuk.
you were wrong.
relevant
You
to
were
that.
wrong. You were wrong for prematurely declaring it an act of kufr and going on there with Dawah Man and doing this whole podcast and with Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid. And you explicitly said that what he did, I know this, I have the video. You said what he did was an act of kufr, but you don't make takfir upon him. That's exactly what you said. Now, you did not question
Yeah, 1000%.
him.
And especially with like the internet and like even how Steve was saying that there's ego involved with this.
About his intentions, and yet you declared it to be an act of kufr.
Yeah, for sure, Steve. Yeah, people will read text and they'll translate it or they'll affirm it to their own narratives. Yeah, so HGVN, it was funny. I think that was like, and also this goes into like the sects of Islam, like the scholarly sects that I'm not really too well versed in. I don't know, maybe one day in the future I'll probably start to like dive into like the scholarly opinions and sects and whatever, but not today. Like definitely not today. But I think he was saying that it was like a coordinated attack by like that the list was not true either. But again, that's just what he came from his mouth.
Based upon the apparent in and of itself.
Like, don't believe everything that you read on Twitter. That's why whenever I see these things on Twitter, I always take it with the massive most grain of salt. Like, yeah, this is what I saw. I don't know if it's true. Someone else can probably tell me what's true or not.
So you're not consistent. Either that or you've changed your position. To me, it seems like, Dan, it's not like you're contradicting yourself. I truly believe that you held a different position regarding ibadah and shirk back then, and now you've changed your position because what you're saying now is not consistent with you declaring that an act of kufr at that time.
when I called it an act of kufr, it is a ritual. It's like a pagan ritualistic practice that is practiced in other religions. Like if you see a Christian, okay, practicing a water ritual or like a baptism, or you see a Hindu practicing a water ritual, like bathing in the Ganges River, okay, you can say that this is an act of kufr. This is an act
without asking their intention.
Yeah, because this is a kafir who's practicing. This is a mushrik.
No, but
okay,
I'm
who's
asking a
practicing
Muslim.
that. So
Omar
Omar
Suleiman,
Suleiman participated in a shirk action. In a
but
shirk
Omar
action.
Suleiman
Now,
is
did he
Omar
commit
Sule-
kufr? Did he commit kufr? It depends on his intention. It depends on
Okay,
his
but
intention.
you
But the
said-
action, the water ritual, let me finish my sentence, bro. You're asking me, I'm patient.
I mean, the same thing can be said about politics. The same thing can be said about economics. The same thing can be about any societal institution.
Waiting for my turn to talk, and then as soon as I talk, you interrupt me. So the action that he is engaged in, that is a pagan ritual. It's a water pouring ritual that that he was surrounded with Christians and Jews and literally a Hindu. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, so far, you know, first opinions is that like all worship is due to Allah Azza wa Jal. And so, I think they're referring to this about Omar Suleiman and about what he did, but it's also like what the intention was. I don't know. Is there like a video where I can come up with this, where I can see what they're talking about? Omar Suleiman. Was there like a specific thing? Oh, maybe let's see this.
But Zionism and Zionists,
They've had many conversations. So this is about a situation that was a long time ago. Okay.
there's no critique.
Zionism is in the bombs and in the skunk spray and
Yeah, I've seen this guy. I think I've seen this guy a lot. I like his demeanor for sure.
in the white phosphorus that's been falling on our people.
Where is that overarching critique?
Christian Zionism is at the root of the problem.
I mean, we got some facts right here.
Because I haven't followed everything that he's put out in the past year or the past 13 months.
You can't gaslight the people anymore and pretend that this isn't the ugliest ethno-supremacist ideology that exists in the world today.
There's just one tweet on Zionist. Literally, that's the only time you've used the word Zionist?
How about we push back and say Zionism is Islamophobia?
So is he just going after this Omar guy? Is that like the beef? Is this where it kind of stems from?
Zionism is racism.
Look, Omar Suleiman claims that allying with these groups politically is sunnah. That allying with these groups politically is sunnah.
3, can we as Muslims form an alliance with LGBT groups because they support our rights as Muslims? And the answer to that, once again, is of course not.
Oh, so he's just saying some, like whatever the opinion is, right? He's just saying things that are objectively just not true that came out of Omar Suleiman's mouth.
And the answer to that, once again, is of course not. How can we find from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ any justification for allying with a group that exists on the basis of a cause that is in direct contradiction to his message? So we have to, as Muslims, operate on the basis of principles, not some sort of political tribalism.
All right. And so so Daniel's talking about a specific moment? So he regretted being there. Okay, so Omar Suleiman was a part of it? Are we digging into some deep stuff? 2018. Oh, this is from 5 years ago?
He is an American imam who gives motivational talks all across the globe. Canada, the UK, Turkey, Malaysia, Qatar. He has millions of social media followers, and recently he was declared one of the top 500 most influential Muslims in the world. In the past, he's been selected to give prayers in the US Congress.
But he also threw some water, and it was like some act that isn't correct. He admitted that he was wrong. So he admitted that he made a mistake. He admitted that he made a mistake, and now Daniel was calling out that mistake, and then Jake is saying, you don't know the true intention.
He has given speeches for presidential candidates, and he's even joined hands in prayer with former presidents and war criminals like George W. Bush and Barack Obama. He is president and founder of Yaqeen Institute for Islamic Research, which is a multi-million-dollar online institute that creates essays, infographics, and videos and disseminates that to Muslims all across the globe. Myself and others have extensively criticized Omar Suleiman and Yaqeen Institute for things like promoting liberalism, feminism, LGBT acceptance, promoting things like Darwinian evolution, and trying to pass off these things as Islamically acceptable to the Muslim community. Last week, I came across...
Dang, this is a lot deeper than I thought.
...pictures and video of...
Alright, but so far... So we think that Omar definitely has probably done some things that he regrets, right? That's what the clear consensus is?
Omar Suleiman at a 2018 protest for migrant rights, and I was absolutely shocked and disgusted. So I reposted those pictures on my social media, and many of you who saw those things were also shocked and disgusted. Here was a prominent imam not only attending but leading a protest surrounded by LGBT supporters wearing rainbow flags. You had one care director, Zahra Billu, getting blessed by a LGBT priestess. You had another care director, Hossam Elush, who was taking smiling selfies with these female priestesses wearing rainbow flags. Another prominent imam, Zaid Shakir, was...
So he publicly repented. All right. So there are mistakes. Yeah, this is tough. This is, yeah, I mean, it does seem like Omar Suleiman got caught up with the wrong people, right? Especially with what's happened with just obviously 2020 vision with what's gone on with gender ideology in America, and then also with the outcomes of what's even going on in terms of the different conflicts in the Middle East right now.
There
with then who've been the chairmans of this country, right, the presidents of this country who have pushed that forward,
surrounded by gospel singers and LGBT supporters. In my post, I asked, how is any of this...
Okay, so I think we have a little bit more context. So he's been calling out Omar Suleiman. Jake is saying that Omar, you don't understand Omar's true intention, and calling him a kafir is too strong at this point.
Priests, okay, they were engaging in a pagan ritual. That is a ritual of kufr and shirk, and he was a part of that ritual. So when I say he committed an act of shirk, engaging in a pagan ritual, that is true. That is true. Now, if I want to say that he himself, okay, he has committed an act of shirk, and therefore he needs to renew his shahada, or he needs to
yeah, it seems pretty multi-layered. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The first few, just to be fully transparent, the first few minutes is pretty tough. But that's true. I agree. I that's what I at the beginning of this reaction is that aren't there proper ways, that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has taught us how to deal with internal conflicts or with conflicts with Muslim brothers. Yeah, I mean, it's just a title for the video. But yeah, so but yeah, isn't there a proper way that this could be addressed potentially? But I mean, it does seem like, you know, this is a 5-year, like this isn't just a brand new like one-off event. Like this seems like a multi-year thing where Jake seems to have enough.
Obviously, he repented from that.
And yeah, pretty much. It's not like they renew it; they just reaffirm it, the Shahada. It was true. Bad he repented from that. There's more beef. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It seems like there's a lot more beef, actually. Like, this isn't a one-off moment as I kind of thought it was. This is like a way deeper situation here.
But that doesn't depend on the intention. I'm completely consistent on that. And go watch the video. Go watch the video on my channel.
Oh, they were best friends. Oh, dang. So yeah, this seems pretty deep. Yeah, it seems like a lot of the online Muslim community, like the streaming community, has been, you know, kind of exiling Daniel more recently. And it seems like because his views are like either not as conservative or they're not as liberal. Like, what's the deal here?
And I say very clearly, he participated in a pagan ritual. Is a pagan ritual kufr? Is a pagan ritual shirk? Like, if someone goes and prostrates in a pagan ritual of prostration to your Hindu peer or whatever, your Hindu sage, that is an act of shirk. That is an act of shirk, and it doesn't matter the intention because that's the religious practice. If someone goes and kisses the cross in a ritual of kissing the cross and taking communion, doing the Eucharist ritual, that is an act of shirk. Okay?
So far, it seems like what Daniel's saying, just to be fully transparent, it seems like he's making a pretty good distinction, right? What the guy did was an act of shirk doesn't mean he's exactly a kufr.
Muslim does that. Okay, they have committed an act of shirk.
I mean, that's true.
They have taken communion. They have participated in the Eucharist. They have committed an act of shirk. Now, if you want to say that they have committed kufr, knowingly committed kufr, then yes, the intentions matter. Yes, their understanding matters. Do you see the distinction?
So what's the difference? You tell me. What's the difference between the act being kufr and them committing kufr?
The act is the description of the act, because there are certain acts that are specific to religions, like Christianity or Judaism or animism or Zoroastrianism.
He's needing guidance of his recent statements. Yeah. All right. Let's check out Daniel's recent videos. Defining shirk and what the Wahhabis get wrong. All right.
Abdullah bin Umar radiyallahu anhuma ghalib mushri.
Hanafi. In it, I had the chance to have an engaging discussion with Sheikh Yasser Hanafi. In it, we discussed the nature of shirk and also the recent Wahhabi letter condemning me, where I'm accused of shirk. At the beginning of our discussion, Sheikh Yasser gives an enlightening and eye-opening presentation on what constitutes shirk according to the Quran. He also discusses the views of Ibn Taymiyyah at length. So I want to just introduce the discussion so viewers can orient themselves so they can get the maximum benefit from Sheikh Yasser's presentation. Wahhabis commonly claim that the pre-Islamic mushriks acknowledged that Allah is the only being with any real power. In other words, the mushriks acknowledged that Allah alone has the power to create the universe and control it. This is referred to as Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. Furthermore, Wahhabis also commonly
I don't disagree with you on that one, Steve.
Claim these mushriks believe that their gods, like Allah.
Yeah, I think I really do think a lot of these like political or like, you know, these scholarly institutions, again, this is from a totally outside revert Muslim perspective, but I think it deviates so far from the path.
And Al-Uzza lacked any real power. Rather, the most that these gods could do was intercede with Allah on the behalf of others. Intercession involves one being with a high status asking Allah for something on another's behalf. And the assumption is that Allah will be more likely to grant it due to that being's high status. So on this view, a mushrik would call on a Lat for something like wealth or children, and then Lat would ask Allah to grant these things.
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty nuanced. I'll be honest. So far, I don't know what Daniel's been called for shirk yet.
And Allah alone can grant them because he, unlike Lat, has the power to
Walaikum salam.
do so. Wahhabis say this is what makes them mushriks, and furthermore, many later Muslims are also guilty of the same form of shirk. This is because such Muslims, like the mushriks, also believe that Allah is the only real power. However, they call upon dead prophets and awliya for intercession.
Oh yeah, that's not good. So you're saying that Jake is harsh but correct.
In other words, Muslims call upon them to ask Allah for things on their behalf, and this is done with the belief that Allah will grant them because Allah, unlike the dead prophets and awliya, is the only being with the real power.
Yeah, that should definitely be the way that could make it less dramatic online, right? Because people have been taking clips. Like the reason why I'm reacting to this is 'cause I've been seeing clips all over my Twitter, and this is the most already so far in the 20 minutes I've been streaming. This is the most I've ever watched of Daniel in my life. Right? I wouldn't even be watching this if it wasn't for all the clips going on, trying to make it like there's this massive beef going on.
To do so. But again, according to the Wahhabis, this is the same shirk that the mushrik Quraysh were guilty of. Wahhabis claim that this perspective comes from Ibn Taymiyyah. However, as you'll see, Sheikh Yasser questions whether such a perspective is consistent with the Quran. He also questions whether such a perspective is even consistent with the writings of Ibn Taymiyyah himself. Enjoy the discussion.
So far, I mean, with everything that Daniel just said, personally, if I'm just taking my knowledge from what he just said right here, I agree that Allah Azza wa Jal is the only creator, and He's the only one that we should be praying or worshiping.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Today,
I mean, to answer your question, Steve, and it's kind of just like when atheists beef, or it's like when for example, when Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens, who are both Catholic, were beefing on Twitter as well. I mean, this isn't, you can pick anyone and make an argument like that.
we are honored to have a special guest with us today to discuss all matters regarding shirk in an academic and ilmi way, inshallah. We have Maulana Sheikh Yasser Hanafi with us from the UK. And mashallah, Sheikh Yasser is a very accomplished scholar, learned both in terms of tradition.
All right. So I think I kind of get what he's saying. And so let's do a little bit of a deep dive personally for, Wahhabis. And Wahhabism is like the stricter Sunni, right? Is that the deal? Rejecting innovations and polytheism. It says a literal interpretation of the Quran and Sunnah, rejecting innovations and polytheism, like venerating saints, and they do advocate for pure Sharia law, becoming the dominant faith and state ideology of Saudi Arabia, which personally, especially with what's going on, I've been giving a lot of thought into, my religious / political beliefs, and I do believe in, hold on, I don't know if this is clear or not. I definitely believe in personal Sharia law, but looking at the historical, the historical context of Islam, a lot of the governing structures have been political first, religious second, with only the true theocratic state that we have any example of is what's happening in Iran, and obviously that's Shia based. So let's see. No, it's Daniel roping everyone. He holds grudges to Jake because Jake turned his back and is defending Sunni. And he also gripes after losing an embarrassing. So he lost a really embarrassing debate. To the non-Muslims, they're like, I don't know what's going on. I know nothing about. Yeah, exactly. And the same the average Muslim who shouldn't be concerned about. Yeah, that's what those are the vibes I'm starting to get a little bit. Is like, all right, is this actually like a constructive conversation, or is this just like Twitter clips that are like attacking my feed. Oh, where do you think you are in Christianity? I don't know what that means.
There are specific acts, and those are acts of kufr and shirk.
Yeah, I believe in personal sharia for sure. Fasting, praying, doing charity, following the sunnah, at a personal level, 100%. Yeah, so it's just like I don't want to say the word extreme, but it's just, it's the more conservative view of Sunni.
So
then there are certain acts that a person can take, like when a Muslim, okay, this is the problem. When you're applying the categories of shirk to Muslims, when you say that, oh, he is practicing istighatha, or he's practicing like a practice to the calling to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam or to the awliya, okay, that is a Muslim who is doing that. So the intentions matter, because if we go to the scenario, don't avoid this contradiction. When a person is at the grave of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they're saying, "Oh Prophet, give me a child," and he intends something that's not shirk, you acknowledge that his intention is not shirk, but you are still going to say that he has committed shirk akbar. That's the contradiction, because you have made a ruling on something that he's actually not committed. It's just the words that he's stated, but his intention is not shirk akbar at all. You have that logic for prostration and tawaf and slaughter. The Hanbalis have that position, at least, and you claim to be a Hanbali. So that is how is that consistent?
I'm not a Hanbali in fiqh, but was Omar Suleiman a Muslim at that time?
Yeah.
So he was a Muslim at that time, but he was participating in a pagan ritual, right? I agree with you. I'm in agreement with you.
Yeah. Is the pagan ritual shirk? Is it kufr?
Yeah, but Dan, I let you talk. Let me finish. So Omar Suleiman was a Muslim at the time. We both agree. He says that he was a Muslim. And from everything we've known about him, he goes and he participates in this pagan ritual. Now, this pagan ritual itself and the act that he's doing is an act of kufr and shirk. We agree?
Yeah. I have heard that the Wahhabi is again, I don't want to say extreme because I'm not too sure, but I have heard people call it that though. And it's a very conservative side of Sunni.
Yeah, it's a pagan ritual. Pagan rituals are shirk and kufr, yeah.
Yeah, so when he committed that act, it was an act of kufr, correct?
He is participating in a pagan ritual, an act of kufr, yes.
I think you broke up, Dan. I couldn't hear you.
Yes, he participated in a pagan act, which is an act of kufr, yes.
Yeah, if you're speaking to me, Von Vicious, that's what I'm trying to figure out. What is going on? Like, what's the deal here?
Yeah, so at that time, Omar Suleiman committed an act of kufr, even though we know he's a Muslim, right? So you didn't ask him about his intentions. His intentions, directly asking him, were not relevant. You made assumptions and inferences based upon the scenario that he is standing around other heads of other religions and participating in what is known to be a pagan ritual, right? And he does this. And so you, based upon that, you determine that he is actually committing an act of kufr. But what if Omar Suleiman himself, when you questioned him about it, he said, "Dan, I now understand that, but at the time, I didn't know this was a pagan ritual. Somebody just gave me a water bottle or whatever. I don't remember exactly what happened. I just did it, but I didn't know that this was actually a pagan ritual. I just did it because they told me to, and I was trying to fit in, and I just did it." Then after he says that, would you still deem it to have been an act of kufr?
All right. I'm starting to understand Jake's point now.
If he still committed an act of kufr in the sense that he participated in a pagan ritual. Now,
which is true. He did I don't know what the ritual is, but he did participate it, but it could have been from ignorance, and so it wasn't in the intention of what Omar Suleiman actually did.
Is he like If he did it ignorantly, then I'd say he's excused, and that's clear. Like the distinction between what I'm saying about istighatha and what you're saying about Omar Suleiman, I never claimed that Omar Suleiman committed shirk akbar or that he's committing kufr akbar. That's what you're saying about istighatha. That's what you're saying about istighatha. I'm with committing an act of kufr. Okay, someone can fall into an act of kufr. Okay, and they can, but you do have to take into account.
It's kind of like that one mayor of London during what was that, during the Christmas festival or whatever, and he was like singing a song about Jesus, which was kind of funny. I mean, he got totally played right there.
Their intentions, but to describe that act like this is an act of,
yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, I mean, it's at least from my understanding, right? When if you live, you follow the rules of the country that you live in, right? Like obviously you can disagree with the government and the government's actions, but you still follow the rules.
Kufr. So you don't believe when it's a different religion, like you're
saying that you've never committed an act of shirk is actually just committing shirk, because you're acting like you know better than God.
Like you're standing there with priests and priestesses and Hindu.
If I say I don't follow Madhaf, but in my area scholars are from Hanafi school. Yeah, so you abide by the laws of your local society. And obey me.
Then yeah, you have committed, you've participated in the pagan ritual, that in an act of shirk, yes.
So far this seems like a pretty non-argument, not gonna lie.
But did he commit an act of?
But if he clarifies, when he clarifies, okay, when he clarifies and he says that, oh, I didn't know what this was about, I didn't intend it as a ritual, I was actually only thinking about Allah and all of these things, I would say that you have committed a haram act. Like this is haram. Your participation in these rituals. Okay, these shirky, kufri rituals that you're participating in is haram for you to do this. You have done something haram.
Yeah, and so I'm asking you, which one do you think realistically, what set of intentions did he have? The first one that aligns with him actually committing an act of kufr, or the second ones that he didn't know, he was purely thinking about Allah, he was just kind of doing something because they asked him to, but he didn't really know what he was doing. Which set of intentions do you think Omar Suleiman had at that time?
And so I'm assuming Jake is also a revert, right? I mean, I'm just assuming because of his name.
I have said it very clearly at the time and afterwards on social media. And I said that I don't think that he is deliberately committing shirk. Okay, he's knowingly, deliberately committing shirk like this. I said it very clearly. I think that he was just like in the crowd, in the moment, and he didn't like, I don't know what was going through his head, but he participated. The fact of the matter is, and everything that I said then is consistent with what I'm saying now, he committed a pagan ritual of water pouring for blessings, okay, for the migrants. And
also, it's like, and maybe this is a very naive belief, right? Because I know obviously shirk is the highest crime, quote unquote crime within Islam, but ultimately, right, like Allah Azza wa Jal is the judge of all people on the day of judgment, and we're like all right, we might have to switch to something else at some point because this is kind of doing my head in a little bit, because ultimately they're arguing about another person where there could be a better way, in my opinion, to maybe inform Omar Suleiman. This could also be from a few years ago, and it seems like Omar Suleiman has already profusely apologized about what he did. And so, like I said, so far having a debate about this is not really saving anyone or solving anything. If anything, I think Steve actually made a good point, is that this could potentially be pushing people away from the faith rather than calling people to the faith.
And this is
choose any school of thought. Yeah, I mean that's how I feel HJV, where I think deeping it into a school of thought there's probably merit into it, but at the end of the day, it's like, you know, you know, what like, do you follow the oneness of Allah? Do you follow the pillars of Islam? Do you follow the pillars of faith? You know, do you try to incorporate the Sunnah to the best of your ability, right? I think when religion gets too philosophical and it gets way too academic, rather than like the actual principles of practicing the religion, then it can really, as we're watching right now, it's actually pushing people away from the faith. It's causing division between these two brothers right here, which, again, like, we're supposed to be one ummah ultimately, rather than like different divisions, different sects of like, what scholarly opinion is. And again, I'm sure someone has a better opinion about it, but ultimately, like, I think this isn't helping people get into the faith, is what should be the ultimate goal of this.
When he was standing next to a priestess, a Hindu, a Jew.
Yeah. I agree. Like, yeah, you shouldn't. I think, trying to, and maybe in a sense what Jake is trying to do is that he's trying to make an example out of Daniel so he can bring people onto the straight path, which I guess if I was to look at it from that angle, that kind of makes sense. But, that's like trying to assume what the audience is like, knows what's going on. Like, for example, like me, I have no idea what's going on, and I'm just trying to figure it out on the fly right here.
Rabbi, and they were in this circle, and they were praying for blessing by pouring water. That is factually a pagan ritual. Now, what we determine from him, what are his intentions? I don't think that he intended to worship the earth or to worship the water. I don't think that he had that intention. That doesn't change the fact.
Yeah, and Raymond, I agree with that. I think, Prophet Musa, and peace and blessings be upon him, is a good example for when we see, corrupt leaders and how to properly stand up. But yeah, like, but typically on average, when you're living in a country, follow those laws of the country.
That he participated in this pagan ritual. How many times do I have to say this?
So it was an act of kufr akbar. Was it an act of kufr akbar?
No.
Okay, there we go, Dan. So you are now saying that Omar.
But Dan has been saying this.
I never claimed it was. When did I claim it was?
You're saying that Omar Suleiman did not commit an act of kufr akbar when he performed that action, and that you never claimed that he did.
I never said that he committed kufr or shirk akbar.
Sure,
I never said that.
Let's look at it. You want to look at it, Dan? You really want to do this?
Oh, you really he's got the receipts.
Want to do this?
All right, but then hopefully if he has the receipts, Daniel will be like, "Hey, I made a mistake."
See, now I'm showing you what you could do. Dan, this is your real option. You could just say, you know what, Jake? I changed my position. At the time, I was accusing him of this. I now...
So you have to understand, Paul, that messengers, particularly if we look at Moses, he was a messenger to a pagan society and a ruler who thought he was God. Noah was a messenger to people where paganism was rampant throughout the land. Jesus was a messenger who went to, to Jewish rabbis who were probably viewing themselves as some level of sons of gods or sons of God. And so these messengers go to like really corrupt societies, and they purify the land and they purify the actions. And so, is the act of walking around a black box as the Kaaba obviously an act of paganism? Well, in the Quranic belief, we believe that there were, pilgrimages all from the time of even Adam, actually, right? And so, no, historically speaking, the pilgrimage to Mecca, to the Kaaba was something that Adam did, and then obviously was restored by Abraham.
realize that I have this wild position, in my own words, about intentions and all of this being necessary. So now,
Well, yeah, Maruf, I think Maruf, you know, we're learning on the fly right now, right? We're doing our research.
you know, I actually want to apologize to Sheikh Omar Suleiman.
So Daniel was just to know that Daniel was always asking us to announce our government while sitting in the U.S. Interesting.
I still disagree with him a lot about a lot of things. It was a terrible action for him to do, but it wasn't actually kufr akbar, even though I said that before. You could say that, or you could stand right now as you are and say that you never actually intended to accuse him of kufr akbar. What do you just meant like a minor kufr? What did you mean?
Bro, I explained it. Now we're going for the 5th time.
Because you haven't given a clear answer.
No, it is very clear.
He has given clear.
You just don't want to accept it. You just want to interrogate me instead of addressing my questions and basically trapping you on istighatha.
Let's be honest. Have I given you the chance to question me and vice versa?
You just changed the subject. Like we were talking about istighatha, and you want to now interrogate me about what exactly I meant.
You how you're inconsistent with your position about whether or not.
Yeah, for sure, intention matters.
Intentions are always required to be specifically asked of an individual before you consider.
And especially if you made a mistake, like you didn't realize, like here's the thing, right? If you make a mistake, and what you did was a ritualistic, pagan, polytheistic act, or you know it was a kufr act or whatever, but then you realize afterwards, and you did it out of ignorance, and then you apologize, you know, to Allah Azza wa Jal, then obviously he's the most forgiving and the most merciful. I think harping on it with what these guys are doing is actually a really bad look.
The act itself to be kufr, and you are flip-flopping. On the one hand, you're saying,
why are you judging me? Look, how about we just make it easy? And I say, okay, yeah, my position has changed. Can you debate me on the position that I'm arguing now?
And I would respect that.
Okay,
but then I would respect that. I would respect that.
I've tried to explain it, what my statement was and how it's consistent with my position now. I've tried to explain it 5 times. Okay, so for the sake of time, I'm going to say just assume that my position has changed.
Yeah.
Address my position.
Is there...
Who intends to participating in the ritual.
Such a ceremony, there would be shirk and kufr spewed. But let's give Andrew for the sake of argument. Maybe and I don't know what else. They then get in their supercars, they drive to the church, and then Andrew Tate out of
it depends on what you mean.
Okay, let's use the example of Andrew Tate.
All right, here we go.
Because you asked me why did I takfir him, which I'll get into. It's directly related to this issue. Andrew Tate literally said, and you saw, did you see the clip? Or do I need to give a lot of context to the whole thing?
It was like a long time ago.
Okay, so I'll briefly explain for you in the audience. Andrew Tate on his own show, whatever, they have their own production recording. He's sitting there with his brother, who his brother is a Christian, okay? And they start talking about, and they're like, oh, guys, it's Easter Sunday, which is kind of weird, like how they just randomly brought it up. But anyway, they're like, it's Easter Sunday, guys. And you know, everybody in the country that they're in, because it's a big, I think Romania is a big Christian country, they're like, everybody celebrates Easter Sunday.
Well, the question is, would Judaism choose you? All right. Yeah, I think this is really a nothing burger, to be honest.
Like, for example, if I make takfir of somebody.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna get, yeah, I'm starting to be like, yeah, this is, I totally agree with you. I'm starting to understand, like, you know, what's the deal with this whole thing, and I'm like, all right, you know, this is actually causing a lot more dissension. I thought there's a lot like actual serious beef going on, but it doesn't seem like this is the deal. Like it's actually some petty stuff, and so yeah, we might just go to something like Muslim Lantern after this here soon. But yeah, because like I said, this is getting kind of dead.
Buddy, and I'm wrong about my takfir, which is based upon my own ijtihad, or somebody else does it, that it's not that the person themselves, if they're wrong about their application chicken, you have no, I don't realize what you self, if they're wrong about their application of Texas. You don't realize what you said, my brother. You are so barbecue Texas chicken, you have no idea. You have no idea whatsoever. So we're going to do this for you right now, Dan, because I'm going to give you a chance. I could just make a video about this later. Well, I really think we've had a decent conversation, okay? And I want to see if you're going to be honest about what you said here in the Omar Suleiman context. So we're going to listen to you, because you claimed that in actual fact, you never claimed that Omar Suleiman, when he performed that ritual, you never claimed or believed that he committed an act of kufr or shirk akbar. You just believed that it was a mistake, it was haram, it was a bid'ah that he did, but it didn't rise to that level because you were not sure of his intention.
What was the point of this video so we can play it?
Yeah, Dan, this is really, I want to give you a chance before I play it, honestly. Are you going to stand by your statement earlier that you did not declare Omar Suleiman's act at the time to be an act that he committed of kufr and shirk akbar? Are you really standing by that?
Yeah, I don't recall saying that, but okay. I did call it a pagan ritual, and the pagan ritual is, of course,
maybe we'll know in the future.
Shirk Akbar. If someone engages in a water ritual with, you know, in a Hindu.
All right, yeah, this is all right. So yeah, here's what we learned, or here's what I learned. Right, I thought this was way deeper. I mean, this is way deeper in a whole like nonsensical level. You know, they're harping on a situation about Omar Suleiman. It seems like it's a situation that happened a long time ago, and it seems like Omar Suleiman apologized profusely. Like, did Omar Suleiman do an act of a polytheistic ritual? I mean, I didn't watch anything, but it seems like that's what you guys are saying. It seems like what they're both saying. Now, it also does seem like he might have done it out of ignorance. He might have done it just to maybe fit in for the moment and apologize afterwards, and seeing that he made a mistake. And it seems like these two are really harping on each other. And my guess is maybe Jake is trying to save people from, following the way Daniel does. And Daniel's taking a pretty, neutral position, being like, hey, this is what I said. Maybe I changed my mind. Like I said, I saw this on Twitter, and it looked like it was gonna be way more interesting than this. But it's kind of, it's a little dead in my opinion. So yeah, that was but at least, like I said, I want to give it a proper look into. So yeah, let's just finish,
all right.
Let's
so
just
what
watch
can
this
I
for the
do
rest
for
of the
you,
time.
my friend?
Okay.
Are you innocent as you claim to be? we're going to find out now. Okay.
That's my name. That's my name. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can you hear me good?
Yeah, should we just watch Muslim Lantern live?
Because he says, "Man ra'ani," who saw me. For you to see the Prophet, there are two conditions. First condition is the description of the Prophet. That you see is the exact description of the Prophet that we know. So the description meaning his looks.
That'd be
right?
That'd be base. Steve, if you hopped on, we'll cheer for you.
The description of how he looked, all of these things. So
yeah, no, Izzy, I agree. I like I said, it was all over my Twitter, and I was like, okay, I just want to learn, like, especially like you guys have to see it from my opinion, right? I'm newer. I'm especially really new to watching, Muslim Lantern, Orthodox Muslim. That was the most I ever watched Jake and Daniel ever in my life. And so I was like, all right, these are two notorious Muslim streamers. They're beefing. I want to know what the beef is. So one, I can understand like my position, how I feel, is this necessary online? Like, should I have an opinion about this? But ultimately, this was the fattest nothing burger I ever watched, right? Like, it seemed like they were arguing about Omar Suleiman and potentially some of his wrongdoings in the past. and it seems like Omar Salman has already forgiven this, and now they're still beefing about the situation, even though at the end of the day, they are not the ones who perform divine judgment on the earth of all people. And so, that's why I was like, okay, I want to get into this. As, it even says directly in the Quran that, we should not be beefing with one another. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing this here, but we shouldn't be beefing with one another. And then through the hadiths and through the sunnah of the Prophet, there are proper ways to go around this. But it does seem like this was building up for years, like 5 years or something. And so I want to get some 2 cents. But I agree. We should, trying to excommunicate Muslims is a bad look. Steve is right. People will get their popcorn, and if anything, we want to be calling people from the faith. Not like I said, I'm a total normie. I didn't know what was going on, so I'm like, hey, I want to see what's going on, and then I watched this. I'm like, wow. Like if I didn't believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, if I wasn't a Muslim, I'd be like, dude, these guys are crazy. Like, what are they even talking about? This is a total waste of time. Take this offline. Take this whole entire conversation offline. It's not doing anyone any good. And so yes, if anyone was maybe a little bit upset about me watching this, it's because I just wanted to know, and now I know that this was nothing. This could have been totally solved offline, and there's a better way to again help call people to the faith. This was a little bit more just for theatrics, unfortunately. And so no. I know Steve's not gonna join. I know he wouldn't join, but he would have a fan club if he did. But anyway, so we'll get into this. This is going to be a better use of our time. Like I said, I was seeing it on Twitter. I wanted to get a proper opinion. I wanted to see what 2 different Muslim, notorious live streamers are saying to each other. But here we go.
So that look has to be the same. The mannerisms, the behavior has to be the same. So that creation and manners, that description that we have in the hadith has to be the same that you see in the dream. Okay? And the second condition is he doesn't command you anything against the Quran and Sunnah, because that's not the Prophet. The Prophet wouldn't do that. So if you've ever seen something, you think you saw the Prophet, but it tells you, oh, go and go and attack your neighbor or something. That's not Prophet Muhammad, even if it looks like Prophet Muhammad, because that's not something the Prophet would command you to do.
Okay. Oh, so I get it now. So they're either lying or they didn't see the Prophet and they're just making things up.
No, they can see Satan, or they can see something that took an image of Jesus, for example, right? Satan can come and take an image, because we know that Satan shows you things in your dreams. We believe that as Muslims, right? It plays with you, manipulates you by showing you things that people call nightmares and all of that. It's from Satan. So he can show you anything there, no problem. He can show you, he can come to you in an image of Jesus or something like that and says, I'm Jesus, like whatever. And then he says he's a creator of everything and asks you to worship him. That's very much possible. But that doesn't mean it's true. Dreams are not a representation.
Funny enough, I've never played Fortnite before. I've never played. Maybe inshallah I'll do a Fortnite stream.
Of reality, of course.
Okay. But you said I saw your videos before. You were saying that if somebody becomes a Muslim or their sins are forgiven, let's say I become a Muslim, I go to the gym, and there are a lot of people there that are almost naked, like they're wearing almost. And I know that a sheikh said also that it's haram to go to the gym, but I'm a soccer player and I have to go to the gym. So let's say I become Muslim, it's very hard for me to follow Islam because I also have my schedule and it's hard to pray. So what do you recommend?
Well, are you in the West or you're in
I'm in America.
Okay, so there are, I believe, I don't know about America much, but I do believe that there are gyms which are men-only gyms or whatever. But even if you don't have that, you can work out in a place where there is no.
No, I haven't watched Christian Prince, but next stream I can look into his stuff. I've had some people ask me to react to him before in my YouTube comments.
People in the gym very late or very early, where you don't have a multitude of people in the gym. You can working out.
No, I know. No, Steve likes hanging out with me. It's okay. We Steve is here for again, Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Oh wow, your kids are also Muslim. That mashallah, that's amazing. Yeah, my mom actually she reverted to Islam, and my father he's almost there, inshallah. He's almost there and he's almost not there. He's older, right? And so some of these Western characteristics, I guess, are baked into, you know, are baked into us, and so it's really hard to let go of some things.
It's not haram. Going to the gym is not haram. It is going and seeing the naked people is the part which is haram, right? So you can work out in many ways, right? You can have equipment at home and you can work out. Working out itself, you can work out in any way that is possible for you, in which you don't see these people, right? As long as you're able to do that, and the people are these women are not around you there, because they're going for that attention anyways. If that was gym was female only, they wouldn't go to the gym at all. It's just because that's why they dress the way they dress, many of them, right? So you don't go there because this is the purpose of existence in the gym to begin with. So there are people who, like I said, they go very late or very early, nobody's there, they work out and they leave, right? And there are people who buy equipment and have their own equipment if they're able to. It doesn't have to be something crazy, but some equipment, and then they can work out in their own place, in their own home, right? Or they can find a place where it's only men, only gym. These are all options that person can do and follow. Now, your schedule when it comes to prayer, God comes before anything and everything. God.
And also, I mean, I think we have a Shahada alert going on right now? Is that what's going on? But I mean, yeah, like, you know, taking literally, like, you can literally pray in like 5 minutes, any of the prayers. And honestly, I'm going to tell you right now, taking 5 minutes away from your life a few times a day, just to, you know, get some peace, like let's just take the God aspect out of it for a second, but just taking 5 minutes away from your day just for some peace, you know, again, moving your body as well. I guarantee you, I mean, I've only been doing it for a few years now, but I guarantee you, you're just going to have just more peace in your life.
Comes before anything and everything.
And obviously paired that with, you know, literally talking to the creator of all worlds, the Lord of all worlds, you know, it's going to create you know, just internally, I think it's going to, you know, alleviate a lot of anxiety. It's also going to allow you to be more focused throughout your day, and hopefully, inshallah, help you achieve more in your life.
I'm not going to say my schedule of playing, like chasing.
No, I mean, look, you know, I too, like, you know, I mean, I debate Steve every time a video gets posted, right? Like, every time. So, you know, it would, if Steve wants to go up there, great. If not, he wants to chill here, then yeah, you know, we can all hang out with Steve.
A plastic piece on the floor and like hitting it while other people are chasing it with me. I'm not gonna say that's more important than me praying to the creator.
I mean, I was watching, who was it? It was Sonny, the two reverts, right? Sonny Faz and Ben was saying to this one guy, he was saying, like, what's the difference between having multiple wives and having multiple baby daddies?
Who created me, which literally takes 5 minutes of your day. Takes 5 minutes of your day. Each prayer is not going to be like 3 to 5 minutes you're going to pray each prayer. And there are only 5 prayers in the day. Well, I mean, nobody has a schedule to the extent that they're not able to play. That's just like not realistic. It doesn't exist. I used to work 12 hours a day and work out and pray. And I didn't have any issues. It was the easiest thing you could do. You just tell the person at work, okay, I'm going to pray. It's 12 hours a day shift, but I would still pray. It's not an excuse. Nobody can come and say, and I can't pray, because it's very easily done. For even people who are so busy, they can still do it easily and they can pray. If they have the intention, if they want to, they will be able to do it. Especially that you don't necessarily have to pray in a mosque in Islam.
And especially, like, you know, you have to believe that Allah Azza wa Jal will make it easy for you if your intentions are true.
As long as the place is pure and you've done your wudu and your purification, you can pray anywhere. As long as the place is clean, you can pray. So Islam is giving you all the basically leverages and all the things that makes things easy for you.
All right, see you soon, inshallah.
So if I missed prayer, am I sinful? Like, is that bad?
If you miss the prayer, yeah, it's a major sin to miss the prayer.
Yeah, what's a joke for Muslims, right? Like, you're only 50% of your deen, but this is a bad joke, right? But it's funny. It's, you know, it's what you say with the boys. But, like, you're only 50% of your deen, but then, you know, for each wife, it's only 25%.
But if you miss it, in which way? If you sleep because you're tired and you try to wake up, but you couldn't wake up, then that's not sinful because you missed it because of sleep. If you, we're not talking about someone who sleeps like, 5 minutes before the prayer or 30 minutes or something like that. Someone who goes work out and play and do everything and 10 minutes before the prayer goes to sleep. That person is sinning because he didn't Talking about someone who prepared and did everything and put the alarm, but he couldn't wake up. That person is not sinning. And for instance, the person who forgets, that person is not also sinning. You could forget. You could get busy and you forget it's the prayer time, and then the time passes you. But if you know and you ignore the prayer and you don't pray until the next time of the prayer comes, yes, you are sinful. It's a major sin for sure.
Okay. One thing I also noticed is
Also, obviously, for those who have multiple wives, but they're not able to take care of them financially, emotionally, physically, that's obviously not what you're supposed to do as a Muslim. Like, one wife is best. Inshallah, we all get married and we have, a partner that can stand with us. But just having multiple wives for the sake of having multiple wives, and they're all participating in the finances, but you just kind of are lackadaisical at home, then obviously that's not the way to do it. And I guarantee you're gonna have many issues doing that.
like the best soccer players in the world and all of that. I watch them. I'm not idolizing them, but I watch them and they play like really good, and their life is amazing. What does God say about like people like this?
How do you know the life is amazing? Are you living with them? You see what the camera shows you. What percentage of their life does the camera show you? 0.5%? The reality is so many, you'd see some of the richest people in the world, they're offing themselves and unaliving themselves and all of that, and depression meds. Because the people think that materialistic things.
I mean, that just sounds like a rough time. That sounds like a rough time, man.
Are going to give you the happiness and fulfillment, but they don't. In the end, they don't, because you can never have enough money. You can never have enough wealth. You cannot have people love you just because you can have money. You can't be respected and charismatic just because you have money. It doesn't work like that. There's many things that you would want. There's many things that you would desire. There's many things that you'll be like, it's not enough. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It's not going to change that reality. So just because you see them on the screen, smiling, some places they're not. Do you see them crying when they lost a goal? I mean, like, they lost a goal. They're sitting on the floor crying like little girls because a plastic ball didn't go in the net. I mean, obviously, you see that as well. They're crying when another person got the reward or whatever. So they're not always like that word. They're not always like happy. Do you think?
Is Jannah forever once you go there, or?
Yeah, both of them are forever. They're never ending. Once you enter there, you'll be there forever.
One other question I also had is, how does God know me? Like, like I'm myself, like you yourself. How does God, like, how does he know us, that we are, it's like I have full control. It's a weird feeling that I have. It's like I have full control, of myself. I think like I know I am here, I know myself. But how does God like know me,
Like God is. I'm trying to understand. You know what knowledge means, right? You know what to know something, what it means, right?
Yeah, but the question is, like, my soul, I feel like that's me. I do whatever I want. Like let's say God didn't decide to create me. I would be like nothing. Isn't like that's crazy to think about, right?
Okay, sure. Yes, it is true. But yeah,
I remember when I was like a kid. And I was like in my house, like, and I was like jumping from like a floor panel to the other floor panel, like trying to like outsmart and outthink God. I was probably like 5 or 6 or some age like that. Any age between like 4 and like 7, 4 and 6 years old. So I kind of hear what he's asking.
Yeah.
So how, like, if God decided not to create me, I would be like nothing, and I wouldn't, like, just completely nothingness. So
yes.
how am I here? How does God know me?
Yeah, God knows everything, and the way we know that is because God is maintaining everything. There are things.
And also, the first thing He created was the pen.
Less than you. That, for example, you look at the ants or the insects are so small that you can eat, so minute you can even see them sometimes. And God, how do you know God knows them? He gave them all these capacities and abilities to live and function. God knows them because He is the creator of them, and He's given them that guidance of how to live, how to function in a system. If God knows these ants, then God knows you. God knows everything in the universe because He maintains us. He maintains it. He maintains the existence of the universe. He maintains the existence of everything. He maintains you. So that's how he knows you, and he knows everything, and he knows everyone. That's why the Creator is all-knowing. That's why the Creator is the maximally perfect being. It's beyond the comprehension and imagination of any human being.
Okay. In Jannah.
Yeah, it's really hard to understand what's actually even going on in Iran. I might make a video about it. But yeah, it's kind of hard to know what's going on because, right, there's a few things. One, they have no internet. All of their internet's coming from Elon Musk. Elon Musk is, SpaceX is one of the top defense contractors in the world. Obviously the U.S. and the Zionist state of Israel have, they have a wantingness to get a regime change. We obviously know that Iran is the Shia capital of the world, and that they're a theocratic, cleric-run state, which they're really the first. They're really the only real example of an Islamic theocratic ran cleric forward state ever in history. We also have some belief that there could be, like foreign influence potentially by the CIA or potentially like Israel. We don't know how many people have actually died, but there is killings going on. Whether the deaths have been from peaceful protesters or they've actually been from protesters who have had weapons, who've potentially been armed with and by different foreign influences. And so yeah, I mean there's a lot going on. It's really hard to understand. I think in my opinion, it's too early to call with what's going on in Iran right now. That's why I think it's especially with, and if you even look on Twitter, right, a lot of the videos, specifically there is one where, this one girl was burning a photo of the leader of Iran, like the supreme leader of Iran, and that was a video from a few years ago, and it was recorded in Canada. So, yeah, it's actually really made, like, what's going on in Iran right now has made me like understand how I feel, like how, I would, I guess, position myself as a religious political citizen. I've only done like some kind of, quote unquote, reworking or formulating that identity per se. But I guess the idea would be like a neo-traditional Sunni, where it's like, I believe in like personal Sharia law, where like, I, fast, I pray, I do charity, I do, personal things to, ensure that my faith is on point. While then I also believe that society needs to create a government that's best suited for itself. And so this is kind of what the Iran situation has made for me. Maybe I might make a full-length video a little bit later when the dust kind of settles. It's really, with what's going on currently at this exact moment, it's too early to really say anything because the opinion can change so quick.
I hear that everybody's gonna see God on Friday, but the people in paradise will see God twice a day. Is that true?
I don't recall a narration that says twice a day specifically, but I mean, you're gonna see God in paradise. It's a reward that you will get in paradise for sure. That Allah is mentioned in the Hadith explicit. It's the greatest reward you can say you're going to get in paradise, to see Allah, to see the Creator.
Okay. Out of curiosity, if you enter Jannah, what are you gonna do? Like, what's the first thing you're gonna do?
I know. I mean, like, if I enter Jannah, I'm gonna.
All right, yeah, maybe we can watch that. That sounds interesting. Oh, I have seen this Just recently.
People ask, are you...
What's wrong with who?
You're a coward. Why aren't you saying anything? Why aren't you doing anything?
So that topic is full of rubbish. Yeah, so you're saying this is over? Like this is a waste of our time?
These are the common things that we hear. And of course, this is not to say that we are scholars, but when Ibn Mubarak says silence is adornment for the scholar and a shield for the ignorant, know that when we are silent, it is because something is happening elsewhere. But you do not need to know about it. At least not yet.
You're banned from this channel? That's funny.
Okay. If you are asking that we are cowards, no, it's not because we are cowards, because we can say anything about anyone, right? It is because we are weighing the harms and benefits, as we quoted earlier, right? We are weighing the harms and the benefits, and we are trying to be wise in how we approach a particular matter. These are not things that people should react to overnight. These are not things that people should make videos about overnight. These are not things that people should walk off on their own. Rather, it requires a group of level-headed people who will sit on a particular matter.
Yeah. All right. They're kind of just reiterating. I mean, you know, obviously they didn't hear what we said, but they're
You had another care.
They're just kind of saying what we were saying. Let's just go back to Muslim Lantern. Yeah. No, for sure. I'm not about the block business.
One more thing before I forget.
I don't think there's any point into it. All right, we got this Lucas guy still.
Yeah, the last thing. I know that pork we bad and we shouldn't eat it. Any other food?
Yeah, I mean, don't worry about all of that until you become Muslim. That's what I would recommend. First, you gotta become a Muslim. Learn how to pray, because you can learn. There's many things, prohibitions that you can learn, right? But gradually learn them rather than necessarily try to learn everything before you even become Muslim.
All right. We'll give Jake.
Your Lord.
Let's see. I mean, yeah, I've already talked about this before on stream. I think that's what you're talking about. Let's see, I want to watch this.
And they're all laughing. They're saying, look, he's talking about critical scholarship and research. He can't even read. The text clearly says that she was 16 when she was pregnant, not 12. Well,
to Jake? No, I haven't.
Danny boy.
Like I said, this is the most I've ever watched his stuff today.
Don't say that I've never done anything.
I've never watched one of his videos until today.
For you, I'm going to do something for you and provide that critical scholar, which... Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Jake Brancatella. And in today's episode, I have to do something which many people would be shocked about if they're familiar with my channel. And that is, I have to defend Daniel Haqiqatjou. Why? Because in Islam, we have to be just even against those who we harshly criticize. I have to come to Danny Boy's defense. And Dan, remember when you tried to hire me?
You watched the whole 10-hour video? Dude, that is crazy.
As full-time head of research for Muslim Skeptic Team. It never happened, and probably for good reason. But I'm going to show in this video why you probably need somebody like me on your team, Dan. I will come to your defense even if you are a shirk apologist. Why? Because that's what justice and Islam demand. Let's take a look at what I'm referring to. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. If you're enjoying this video and the other content,
receiver, you should have some idea that you don't want to make it so easy to point out that you're getting this wrong. If you're stupid, then you just don't realize how easy it is to show you that you're wrong. Yeah. But by the way, side note, everyone, sadly,
No, I know you said latest one. I want to watch this one.
You'll have Daniel and he's going, oh, the proto-evangelium of James, and this is what Christians believe. He's saying that are a bunch of morons who don't know any better. Don't realize, no, we don't believe in this. But everyone, you just have.
Yeah, it seemed like a big old pissing match, to be honest. Like, I do agree with you, Marufu. Like it's and also with you, Steve. Like this, I think there's a better way to handle this.
Have to go.
If you actually really care about Dawa, there's a better way to handle this.
Proto-evangelium of James. Screenshot the part that says she was 16, so that wherever you have one of his dumb fans, you have to keep showing them.
And I know I've gotten caught up in a lot of this like zero-sum game nonsense with, different ages of like mothers of messengers and prophets, and ummas and whatever. I also am not a big fan of the whole zero-sum game. I kind of got sucked into it like during my first month of making videos on this, but I think just pulling each other down for the sake of like argument and debate is not a good it's also not a good look.
They have a community that is just wide open, not in a good sense, but wide open for deception.
And especially these two guys, David and Mike.
They're someone like Daniel can tell them anything, they'll just run with it. They'll just run with it. They don't question it. They just go. And they'll spread this nonsense around the world. And it's just, we have to do the work of correcting it. So
yes. Mary being afraid.
I agree with you, Robert. I think in a lot of ways we've, obviously modernized, just as people, and that's just what happens with time, of course. But we still are pretty barbaric when we like have discourse with one another.
Her own house and hid herself from the sons of Israel. She was 16 years.
Like we're still extremely tribal.
Old when these mysteries happen.
Yeah, and you read the paragraph. This is when she's pregnant.
Right. You can look up and see the context there. Yeah. Yeah. This is how bad it is. And again,
God impregnated.
I don't even want to comment on that.
Mary at 12.
So the context of this dispute between the three stooges on the screen, David Wood, Michael Jones, Inspiring Philosophy, and this other guy, is that they are criticizing Daniel's utilization of the Proto-Evangelium of James, which is said to be a 2nd century document, Christian witness, in which it displays or depicts.
Yeah, no, Metaphysics Mike, he's a Unitarian. I've watched maybe a handful of his videos. But yeah, no, that Aspiring Philosophy guy, I don't know. I'll just say I'm not a fan.
Mary, as according to Daniel, apparently being 12 years old when she is pregnant with Jesus, Isa alayhi salam. Okay? Now, Daniel notes this and is using it for support of another argument that
I agree with you, Robert.
He's trying to make. And these guys respond and say,
like, it is crazy to me. I have so many comments all the time being like, oh, you need to speak to, God logic, shirk logic, or you need to speak to like no one's ever said I need to speak to Inspiring Philosophy. But, it's just like these are the people that you look up to. Like, these are the people that are your like the epicenter of where you go search knowledge from. I'm just like, come on, dogs. Like those guys, I watched their, Sam Shamood is another one. I'm just like, those are who you guys look towards. Those are who you look towards to as like someone who's like, a spiritual leader of, and how, you get a lot of your knowledge from your faith. I mean, you know, I'll you know, a lot of these guys just push a lot of hate, even towards their own, you know, Christian brothers, and it's like, dude, like this is who you, like, you know, I should be speaking to, people who just push a lot of hate towards even people in their own sects.
Daniel, you can't even read, and his low IQ followers just following him blindly, when the text of the Proto-Evangelium of James, which they don't even accept as authoritative, it says that Mary was actually 16. Hey, Daniel, you bozo, can't you read that it says 16, not 12? And they say, well, let's assume that he's not lying, that he's just really dumb at this point, which I actually usually make that excuse for people. I'm someone who very strongly advocates for a principle called Handler's Razor, which says, do not attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity. In other words, have husna dhan. Don't think a person is completely being dishonest and malicious. Just assume that they're stupid until there's more evidence to show that, no, they're actually being malicious. In this case, I think Daniel has a lot of people who do.
I mean, dude, the internet is filled with all of this.
Do research for him. He doesn't do much of his own research. And a lot of it is lazy stuff. So I'm going to help Daniel out and provide some research for him to back up his claim, opposed to the three stooges who are claiming that Daniel didn't do any research and that the Proto-Evangelium of James does actually depict Mary as 16 years old when she was pregnant, not 12. Let's listen further, and then I'll give the evidence.
Yeah, that's what I, Paul Ruth, that's my understanding of it. Is that there isn't a consensus on age, but also it's like I fail to see the significance of it from a purely religious POV, considering, you know, that was just the cultural, you know, the cultural norms of the time, and it produced the Messiah Jesus, and so yeah, I find it odd today where there's a lot of this like zero-sum game, specifically with, you know, Mother Mary, and it's like we're just picking at straws, unfortunately, and making each other's faiths just look worse.
To the Proto-Evangelium of James, which says she was 16.
These are genius researchers, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, so guys,
model from Christians is completely ignorant of the type of critique or the type of analysis that we're doing. We're doing a historical analysis. We want to know the historical age of Mary.
Here it is.
It's called historical critical scholarship.
Oh my God.
Maybe you're not aware of that.
Look at this. And guys, this is what impresses like
look at that face.
Fans.
Look at that face right there.
This is what's called not being able to read any source. This is called
I mean, dude, these guys are just as bad. Like, I mean, it's so funny. These guys are just as bad as what they're trying to call out right now.
Historical critical scholarship. Yeah. Hey, Daniel, find Daniel anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with you guys. It's like, it's just, even if you just look at just like 10 years ago, I mean, you know, it's been, especially with like, you know, gender ideology, you know, racist jokes or whatever, like the 90s, everything, like everything just, the further you go out, everything just looks worse. But it can show you just how much we've evolved, right?
Find one historical critical scholar who would listen to what you just said and not think that it's the most idiotic thing they've ever heard in their entire lives. Find me one who wouldn't think that what you just said is the biggest, most idiotic bunch of nonsense they've ever heard. Mm-hmm. You can't. And you might want to get a couple of historical critical scholars on there, show them that, and just watch them giggling themselves silly at what Daniel's saying here.
So there you have it, guys. David said that Daniel can't produce a single critical scholar to back up what he's saying, which is his claim that the Proto-Evangelium of James, a 2nd century Christian document, actually depicts Mary as being 12 when she is pregnant with Jesus, peace be upon him. And they're all laughing. They're saying, look, he's talking about critical scholarship and research. He can't even read. The text clearly says that she was 16 when she was pregnant, not 12. Well, Danny boy, don't say that I've never done anything for you. I'm going to do.
Walaikum salam. I totally agree. That was my consensus. I probably watched we watched 20 minutes of it, and ultimately it seemed like it was a nothing burger, totally waste of time. And someone who is trying to come up with things objectively, obviously I'm gonna fail, but trying to come up with things objectively, and also not as you guys saw, I just subscribed to Jake for the first time right now. I don't really know anything about these guys. It just seemed like a total nothing burger, and it's really not calling people to faith.
Something for you and provide that critical scholar, which does exactly what David is asking for. These guys just Googled and saw on New Advent that it said 16 without realizing that English translation is not based upon the Greek critical text of the Proto-Evangelium of James. So let's go to an example of a scholar that did look at.
Yeah, I just think it's a zero-sum game of picking at the most nuanced things when it's these are just cultural for the time. We're arguing about things that were thousands of years ago. They're not core tenets of the faith of Christianity or Islam or Judaism. It was just the natural order of the world. Ultimately, that's just what it was.
At the manuscripts that did actually look at the critical text and provide critical text for these passages. So here you have, this is in the introduction to a text. You can see here, this is a critical text published by T&T Clark, and it is by George Zervos, the Proto-Evangelium of James, Critical Questions on the Text and Full Collations of the Greek Manuscripts, Volume 2. So this is a serious critical work, and you can look in there's 2 volumes. This is in the 2nd volume. You can see that on page 3 in the introduction, this very issue is brought up. So the author says,
thanks AGV.
But there yet remains an editorial master stroke that was meant to resolve this theological predicament. The now composer-enhanced, redactor-interpolated veil counsel and annunciation story are provided an egregiously transparent, artificial ending in the form of an editorial insertion whose content...
Yeah, that's not true, Half-Light. He sent peace and blessings upon him.
...essentially contradicts the details of the preceding narrative with respect to Mary's age. Because before there's a one-liner that comes out of nowhere that says she was 16 when these mysteries occurred. All prior to that, when she's in the temple, when she actually marries Joseph, all of that is detailed and says that she's 12 years old, right? So the author of this text is saying that no, in actual fact, this is an editorial insertion later on. It's not the original part of the text when it states that she was 16. He continues and says that in section 12:11 states that Mary was 16 years old when these mysteries happened to her. This interpolation, did you hear that, Davey? Did you hear that, Inspiring Philosophy? Where's your research team?
All right, we got some heat coming here.
This interpolation had the intended effect of diverting the attention of the reader from the fact that Mary was only 12 when she was impregnated.
Yeah, I mean, those 3 guys, they just kind of, they say things with chest, and you got to respect it.
So he's mentioning it was a later interpolation, and he's saying it was for doctrinal reasons. Thus, the problem of Mary's shockingly young age at the time of her impregnation by the voice of God is effectively resolved. The author and the composer were both Jewish and apparently had no difficulty with Mary's very young age at the time of her impregnation. Wow, so much for what the Muslims say, right? The Jews didn't have any problem with Mary's young
Yeah, that's facts.
age. The redactor, however, living in the mid-2nd century Rome perhaps felt the need to insert this longer ending here into the text to address social
Yo, let's go, Spirit of Observer.
sensitivities against the impregnation of a 12-year-old girl by the Jewish deity. Then he continues on and he says, only one manuscript contains evidence of tampering with the text to change Mary's age in section 8. A corrector of manuscript 93 erased and wrote over the text of the manuscript in both section 8.3 and section 8.4 to alter Mary's age from 12 to 14 years. On the other hand, various alternative readings occur in some manuscripts and different families of manuscripts, presenting Mary's age from 12 to 16 years old. This widespread disparity in the Greek manuscript tradition.
You're going on, Steve? Oh, we gotta see this. You're actually going on. Oh, you're
He doesn't even let spell check correct.
Or you're just telling me to watch this. Oh. No, we've got enough. We've got enough watching all this stuff. Like I don't. We've already watched enough of this. And yeah, we already know. Like Steve, we already made the opinion that like it's a complete waste of time. But anyways, yeah, we're actually gonna have to cut the stream here. I know I typically go longer, but really bizarre situation happened. My car got stolen over the weekend, and the police found my car, so I have to go get my car. It's like a couple towns over, and so super bizarre. I it's like you obviously know you're the main character in this life when crappy things happen to you when you face adversity. But mine was like a really old 2013 Kia. So alhamdulillah, my car did get found, and so that's great. We do have to go pick it up here soon. And so yeah, I will probably stream on I'm gonna stream on Friday, I think, early in the morning. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. This was a very different stream of me just reacting, to Muslim drama that was going on. But ultimately, here's the quick summary: is that, this was a big old nothing burger. It was a complete waste of time. Unfortunately, people do get caught up in their own egos, and there's better ways to fix this, and there's better ways to call people to Islam. And inshallah, we'll create a platform that can call people in the right way, and inshallah, we'll continue to make great content. If you guys haven't watched my new video, please go watch. It's called The Trinitarian Trilemma. And yeah, I should be streaming either on Friday or Saturday, inshallah. And we'll get back to reacting to, more like debate content rather than like this nonsense. And so, anyways, yeah, exactly. This was a one-time thing. I wanted to see if there's actually any like academic things that I could learn from. But yeah, there was really nothing, nothing too serious. And so yeah. Again, yeah, please like and subscribe for those who've joined, and I hopefully will see you guys either Friday. Yeah, Kias are super easy to steal, which sucked. But yeah, so I have to go pick it up from it's like in the impound, so I gotta go pick it up. But yeah, so yeah, hopefully, yeah, I'll see you guys on Friday or Saturday, and